Now we have Detroit. So why is Detroit in here? This is actually a program we've been running through Art and Design for the past 4 years, but we're delighted this year to move under the umbrella or into the arms of the Study Abroad program. And I mean, why Detroit? I travel a bunch, and I know this is self-serving to say, but it is one of the most fascinating places I've been right now because Detroit went through bankruptcy, went through the massive collapse, white flight, lots of foreclosures, and now on the upswing is creating new models. In the words of Grace Lee Boggs, we got there first. This is what American-style capitalism will result in. We're there and we're creating new models. And so what's happening in Detroit, for instance, the neighborhood that we're working in, is officially part of the city, but there's, 2 inhabited homes on our block. In between is grass. When you wake up in the morning there, you hear crickets. There's 2 farms you can walk to within 5 minutes from where this project takes place. Entire abandoned homes are being made into greenhouse, the entire home. There's all these new sustainable ways of living that people are creating, and this project is this long-term project with a few nonprofits in Detroit and Purchase that we're just so thrilled to be a part of. So I'll talk a little bit about it after pumping it. It's not pending anymore. We just got EPC approval. SUNY has to check mark it as well, so this will be Gen Ed for arts and other world civilization. You can get Gen Ed credit for it. So what are we doing exactly? All right, well, the days are divided. In the morning, there's 2 major parts of this project, and I'll show a brief video about it. The mornings are hands-on community work. We're working with Oakland Avenue Artists Coalition, who's an arts nonprofit who their mission, in their words, is bringing back Oakland Avenue as a Black cultural corridor in the north end of Detroit. And here we're basically, so the mornings we'll be working, building sculpture, working on rehabbing, I'll get to that. Basically, we're building this 40-foot sculpture that links formerly abandoned buildings to create a shared courtyard, a riad that's a public park, and also part of this project, fixing up the buildings into a land trust that will prevent gentrification. And then the afternoons are Theater of the Oppressed workshop. Theater of the Oppressed is technique. How can I explain briefly? I'll describe it as, I like to think of it as kind of brainstorming for revolution. Maybe it's not the right. Basically, it's problem solving through theater. So how we're implementing it is a group of people get together, they're talking about issues, they enact different kind of games that work out different power relations, and they start to perform some specific local issue, and then audience members, who are called spectators instead of spectators, come in and we're like, okay, we can do this. Like, say we're dealing with a boss who's mistreating people, or someone being racist in a restaurant, or different issues we're dealing with, and then different people kind of jam with it and kind of come up with ideas as they go. So this is part of the project. Here's a Google map of Detroit. Not quite sure what the American Riad is up in the north end near Hamtramck, which is, I think, the fourth highest population, Muslim population in the United States. And yeah, here's Canada, one of the only places in the world where we're north of Canada. And Belle Isle has a nice beach we'll look at later. So what else so this is the site. You can see the progress students have done over the past 4 years working with the nonprofits in the area. That's what it was. The land trust includes, I love doing this part, that house, this vacant lot, and then this is 6 commercial units on bottom and 6 residential on top. When I say all of that, everything was abandoned other than Red Jazz Shoe Shine, which is one of 3 businesses that actually survived. Dave Bogan runs it now. He's renamed it Reflections, but no one's allowed to touch that sign. It's one of 3 businesses that's made it through everything that's gone on in the North End, so it's pretty sacred, and it's still running. So that was the plan. That's what students working with nonprofits have built. That's 2 Purchase students and an alum who keeps coming back. So some of what else is going on, there's a tour with Grace Lee Boggs Center that goes through some of the sites. This was the Packard plant, and it's not ruin porn. It's definitely kind of a rite of passage anybody who wants to work in Detroit has to go through, where you learn about what led to the downfall and what is like the amazing energy that's coming up. Now, this is now a parking garage, if you would believe it. It used to be a theater, and they've now built sublayers so cars can park there. This is an entire neighborhood called the Heidelberg Project, you may have heard of, in which the houses themselves have been turned into art pieces. These are some. This is working, purchase students and North Enders working on the project. This is the site. What else? Let's skip through. Oh, also building a pizza oven. We have a outdoor, like a shared kitchen as part of this courtyard that we're building. So there's a pizza oven that students and Detroiters built. And there's a water catchment to provide the water for that. This is a Palestinian American artist who's been working with people in the neighborhood and the students creating this mosaic that will cover it. These are some photos from Theater of the Year. Oh, yeah. A bunch of pictures of people working. There's the beach. There's Belle Isle. Some more sections of people working or building this crazy thing. The project came out of a larger project called Ghana Think Tank, which was formed in 2006. The premise of that project is, the motto is, Ghana Think Tank is developing the first world. The idea is to flip this usual power dynamic of West is best, the United States intervening into other people's lives, and instead we collect problems in the so-called developed world and send them to think tanks in Ghana, Cuba, El Salvador, Morocco, Indonesia, Palestine, Syria, several prisons in the US, and we then implement those solutions, whether they strike us as brilliant or impractical. This whole project came out of a think tank in Morocco who was looking at the US problem of people don't know their neighbors, Americans are isolationists and exceptionalists. They said, well, that's because of your architecture. You need to build look at our architecture. We have the Riyadh, where it's a shared courtyard between a bunch of dwellings. The Americans are obsessed with single-family homes. That's not private enough. You have to build a fence around it. And we've heard that even in cities, people live lonely lives, that somebody won't know their neighbor's dead until their dead body stinks so badly they complain about it. This is all the Morocco think tank. So their solution was to create a Riyadh, a shared courtyard, which is what this is, I guess, part of the structure of. So I'll finish by saying part of this, of course, is there's a think tank from Morocco, a think tank from Indonesia. We're trying to get Marwa al-Sabuni, the architect from Syria, to come, but obviously with the travel ban, that's difficult to put together. So part of it is teaching Americans, how we want to define that, to learn from other cultures, and specifically in this, their Muslim majority nations are the think tanks we've been working with, Indonesia, Syria, Morocco. So also trying to help Americans learn from Muslims, from Islam, rather than fear it. And so that's some of the cross-cultural parts that are in this. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Rick.